My name is Chad, and this is a guitar building channel. Now that I got the clamps off this veneer, I'm going to go ahead and shave it down and make it all level with the rest of the neck blank. Card scraper is quickly becoming one of my favorite tools in the shop. Right now I'm just going to go through and clean up the edges, get rid of the burnt edge with a laser, cut out the veneer, and just a little bit of elbow grease now. Now that the headstock's finished, and we finally got the scarf joint done, we can go back and add the heel that we made in episode 2, like so. Before we do that, we're going to have to square off the end of the neck blank and the heel before we attach. You just saw where I added the heel to the bottom of the neck blank, also where we extended the thickness of the neck all the way to where it's going to end. So this is the final length of the bass guitar, minus about a ½ inch from the back. I also traced the taper of the neck to the end of the fretboard, and also the width of the bridge that's parallel at the body. So you can see the lines slowly get skinnier up here. Additionally, I went ahead and drew up the thickness that's going to have to be removed. This is going to lose about a ½ inch off the bottom. It's also going to lose about a ½ inch from the top from the end of the fretboard, where it's going to stair step down. And this is where the contoured maple cap is going to be covering. So you won't be able to see any of this at all. It's all going to be covered. And finally, we're going to be losing about a ¼ inch off the back of the neck, and it's going to transition into the body something like this. I haven't fully decided what that's going to look like yet. Now that we've got the top of the headstock looking pretty good, we're going to go ahead and mask that off to give it as much protection as possible. Today is truss rod day. Truss rods are meant to be inlaid into the neck underneath the fretboard, right down the center, with an adjustment point that either comes out at the head or at the or closer to the bridge. This one's going to come out of the headstock, and it's going to have a truss rod cover. Haven't decided what that's going to look like yet, but today is the day we're going to route the channel for the truss rod. Truss rods are meant to put a back bow or a front bow on a neck that might change over time, and also to counter the tension of the strings that are constantly pulling up on the neck. Before I take this to the CNC machine to route the channel, first thing I want to do is go ahead and get this down to the dimension I need, and also to get at least one flat end so I can register it on the table perfectly square. Since I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and make both sides square to the exact dimension that I want it. I went a lot farther than I thought I would on the shaping of the neck blank. We're not really a neck blank anymore. We're getting a lot closer to the actual neck and body part. Starting to feel like a bass guitar, a little bit more. So I went ahead and modeled out the routing template that we're going to cut out on the laser. So let's check that out. Well, as it turns out, today was not the day to install the truss rod. Instead, I went through with the shaping of the neck and the body portion of the neck blank. I even went so far as to cut out a routing template for the final shape of our neck blank. Really, it's less and less of a neck blank every day. It's actually starting to be a neck. So this is the routing template for the trim router that we're going to do tomorrow. I've screwed it on. I've actually made it into two parts just because the bed of the laser wasn't long enough. So I got kind of a interlocking set here. These are to be screwed on. And I was screwing this part on, but I don't know how it happens, but every build I managed to break off a screw in the wood. So I've got to go through and painstakingly fish this screw out, and it's very complicated. I'm going to tear up some wood and I'm going to tear up some metal, so we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But this gets screwed on, and if you're not a woodworker, then you probably don't know what a flush trim router bit is. And we're going to go into that tomorrow. And the other thing we ran into today was a change in design. I asked my friend back in Korea who's getting this, I asked if the 5.2 inch thickness at the nut was good enough for her, and she said she actually likes it a little skinnier. And we came up with a 4.5 centimeter thickness at the nut. And just to give you an idea what the difference is, this is the new thickness on the template. This is the template I had cut out and was ready to cut. You can kind of see the difference there. So that changed up the whole calculation quite a bit, and I went back and I redid the calculations on a website called Fret2Find. I think it's a .com or a .net, but that's a place where you can go if you're building a bass or a guitar or any stringed instrument, where you can go and plug in your dimensions, and it will spit back the different dimensions that you're going to need to build your instrument. But anyway, we're now settled on a 4.5 inch thickness here. That's also going to affect the transition that we're going to have to make between the new thickness and the transition to the head, which we had planned for the old dimensions. So we're going to have to finesse a transition between this and where we stopped carving with the CNC machine on the head. Shouldn't be a problem, but tomorrow I'm going to come back and we're going to remove more material as close to the template as we can. Then I'm going to show you how a flush trim router works if you don't already know. And by the way, if you're wondering about the puzzle piece at the top of the template, this really didn't work out for me, but the idea was to get the headstock portion of the template on here, but it doesn't quite line up with how it actually is. So we're gonna do this in two separate phases. We're gonna cut the neck and the body part, and then we're gonna remove this, and we're going to go ahead and line up the headstock template and work the transition piece there. Actually, now that I got the template off, I can go ahead and get the whole neck without changing the bit and without flipping it over. But I'm still going to have to put the additional scrap piece on for when we go to the CNC machine and route the truss rod channel.